What's up, you guys? Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night to talk to you about physical media, about Blu-rays, 4Ks, and DVDs, the way we like to buy and own our movies and TV shows. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Let's keep that conversation going. You got to hit the notification bell so you'll see when my updates happen. They're pretty random. I try to update a couple, 2 to 3 times a week, but you never know when it's going to happen. My schedule is ridiculous. So hit those buttons, do the things. Let's talk about movies. I'm actually going to give you an update now. This is my monthly Pushing 100 update, where I talk about the movies that I've seen this month in theater. Pushing 100 is my New Year's resolution project, where I see 100 films in theater in 1 year. Someone said to me on TikTok, that doesn't seem like it's that challenging. Well, guess what? It's really challenging. The average has got to be around 2 movies a week. Now, I don't see 2 movies a week because my schedule doesn't allow for it, and the other issue is lots of times there aren't 2 new movies to see. I'm doing the Pushing 100 project right now in hard mode, which is no retrospectives, no art installations. We're talking about new release films. The only thing that I've let slide through there so far is when I saw the Oscar-nominated short films, because technically they were new releases. They were released this year, and they were in 2-hour blocks. So I'm counting those right now. But my goal is to try and just beat this number anyway, so it's not even going to matter. So yeah, I saw a lot of stuff this month, so let's talk about it. It was a series of ups and downs. So the first thing I saw this month, and it's been so long, it's been such a long month, I feel like maybe I've talked about this, and maybe I haven't, but the first thing I saw for the month was The Batman. I was happy to finally see something that was anticipated. January and February were very hard months to get through this project because there were a lot of bad movies. I saw some good stuff too, but yeah, there were a lot of bad movies. I saw the best thing I've seen up to this point was Belfast, and that one doesn't actually count. I just saw it because I wanted to see it. It was released last year, so it doesn't count. Or, I have to debate this because it was released last year, but at the time I saw it, it had not yet left theater, so it was technically still a new release. Maybe it does count. I don't know. We're going to see. It's in the list right now, I think. Anyway, so Batman. I was very much anticipating this movie. I thought the trailers looked good. As I saw the trailers coming out, I was building up my anticipation because Matt Reeves is not a director. I think, oh my God, Matt Reeves is doing it. Holy crap, this is going to be so good. Because he did the Planet of the Apes things, and it was fine. They were fine. They were good. I have them. They were good, but it's not like, this stylistic visual feast. But, and also I wasn't 100% confident in Robert Pattinson. So now the movie's out. I saw it. It's long as hell, okay? So, I feel that my feelings about the movie are a little bit of a hot take because, spoiler alert, my rating, just to get to the point, is 6.5 out of 10. So, the good things about Batman is the detective elements coming back into play were good. Not having to see the origin story again, good. The Riddler, good. Robert Pattinson as Batman, good. So now the bad things. All that stuff is good. The visuals were good. I felt there was enough practical stuff in there to kind of ground it a little bit. That's good too. Overall, I'm okay with the visuals. The bad things. Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne. First of all, Bruce Wayne is barely represented in the film, and the times he is go nowhere. There's a whole sequence with the accountant is coming over because we're in financial trouble or whatever. That just happens and then goes nowhere. And then there's a hospital scene, which I'm not going to talk more about just in case you haven't seen it, but just to say there's a hospital scene that it just looked like a cutscene from Twilight, his acting. He felt like he was really reverting to Edward. It was very sad to see that, my prediction was that he's going to be like this shoegazer version of Bruce Wayne. I was right. The cinematography is the editing really is the thing. The editing is so weird because there's these great sequences. The first 15 minutes of that movie, maybe even the first half hour of the movie, are beyond reproach. But there's a sequence where it's in the trailer, part of it's in the trailer, where the Batmobile sort of jumps a makeshift ramp and he's chasing the Penguin. The whole editing of that sequence makes the geography of where the Batmobile is not make sense. It's weird. It's a bad scene. There's another scene where he walks up to the Penguin when the Penguin is flipped over in the car. You see a little bit of that in the trailer too, so it's not spoilery. But he walks up and the scene is long. It's really long, and you feel like it's building up to something. But then the Batman looks down and into the car, and it's accidentally humorous. Like, I just laughed. So it's, so the detective stuff being back is a good thing, but it's like they stopped the detective stuff toward the end of Act 3 out of plot convenience. Like, it doesn't make, the things that they do don't make sense. Like, there is an evidence-related sequence where evidence is in a situation where the police are there and you would expect them to collect the evidence. But they don't. They investigate, they find all the evidence they need, and then they just leave so that Batman can come back and look at the evidence in the spot where it existed, including a very important key piece of evidence that no police officer would just leave laying around. That part just annoyed me, okay? And then to cut it short, I'm not going to go any more on this. This is it. This movie needed to be 3 acts, but it was 4. Everything that happened in the last act of the movie felt tacked on and unnecessary. And it involved some of the biggest action scenes in the movie. But it was just okay. This movie was just okay. I think there's a lot of love for it right now. It's fanboying out, and then there's built up anticipation for it and all that kind of thing. It's a good third draft of the script. It should have been rewritten a few more times to make some of the logic make sense. Bruce Wayne should have been given more depth. It's just okay. So now I want to talk about X. X is the second best film I've seen this year behind Belfast. And everything moving forward, especially horror related for this year, is going to be held up to the standards set by this Ty West directed film. He's directed a number of things. He's done a lot of TV, but the thing that he's done previously that I like the most is The House of the Devil. That movie was very 1970s babysitter horror, all like empty house atmosphere and that kind of thing, and I thought it was brilliant. And this one is also 1970s, but this is very much riffing on 1970s grindhouse cinema and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's riffing on Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe, but it's more related to grindhouse types of cinema. I tend to have a pretty good eye for film versus digital photography, and this movie was shot digitally, but wow, if you had told me that this was film, I at least in some sequences, would have believed you, because the colors are right, it has a nice grain structure. It's actually really beautiful. This is really pretty cinematography. It's very nicely cut. But the film follows a group of young people going to a desolate Texas farmhouse to shoot a porn movie, an actual, on-film porn movie. And, then the killing starts. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's early. A lot of people haven't seen it yet. It's graphic. It's edgy. It's funny. It's very freaking funny. It's everything you want from a 70s style grindhouse film. This is, when I saw The Devil's Rejects in theater, I thought, wow, this isn't an homage to 70s grindhouse. This is a 70s grindhouse movie. And I feel exactly the same about this film, X. Fantastic film. It is a solidly 8.5 out of 10. It has some issues with acting here and there, and it has some character motivation issues a couple of times. But these are almost comfort spaces for me because it's kind of what happens in these grindhouse movies. So it's one of them. It's it's one of us. It's really good. But I have read where people are walking out of the movie because it's so much edgier than they thought. So be warned. It is. I mean, it is. It really is. I loved it. All right, I saw Jujutsu Kaisen O. I'm going to be very brief on this because I hated it. I like to support anime in theater. I like anime. I have always liked anime, but I like good anime. It has to be quality anime, and that doesn't mean it has to be Miyazaki all the time. But everything I see gets held up to the standards set for me as a young person with movies like Akira and Ghost in a Shell, and I didn't see those in theater. That was, kind of before I would have, seen stuff that way. But those movies are the gold standard for me. And so when I see a theater, like a movie in theater, it has, I expect it to be good. Okay, this feels like episodes of this show, which this is based on a show, tied together. It doesn't feel like a movie. And if you're going to make something for theater, you should give enough backstory for viewers who aren't familiar with the show to care. And they didn't do that. It's not good. I did not like it. If you like the show, you might like it. The outfit was a very pleasant surprise for me. I went because I needed to see the movie, and it delivered. So the outfit is set in a tailor shop in New York in the 1950s, I think. And basically that tailor shop has become a hub for mob activity. And the movie focuses on one night when all hell breaks loose, and the tailor and his secretary must find a way to navigate this mob activity and survive. It's suspenseful, it's beautifully acted, and something that was a surprise to me that I didn't know, and I don't think this changes anything. I mean, I really should have known it from the trailers, is that this is a single location film. Everything happens in one spot. That doesn't matter to a lot of people. It matters to me. I love that kind of film, but it does so cinematically. It doesn't feel like a play. And often, single location non-horror films can kind of feel like a play, like a stage play. This one does not. This still feels and is shot and acted like a film, but it's in one spot. I really liked this movie, and I can't wait to revisit it. I highly recommend. Solidly 8 out of 10. Yeah, I saw The Lost City. This has Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and Mr. Harry Potter himself. It's very, very, very formulaic. But it is also very targeted to a specific crowd. I made a joke with my sister about the movie because she wanted to know what I thought. And I said, well, this feels like the soccer mom, 3 glasses of wine, night out with the girls kind of movie. And it for that, it serves its purpose. The movie's not for me, and I still laughed a few times. The cast is charismatic and fun, and there's nothing in the story. It's not very well executed story-wise, but it sits on the shoulders of the cast, and they deliver. It's fun. It's a lot of fun for a particular crowd, I think. For me, I laughed a couple of times and didn't hate it. And, that's pretty good. 5.5 out of 10 for me. Probably a 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 for, the right crowd. Okay, so I saw Infinite Storm. This is a Naomi Watts film that I would not have known about had I not just seen it on the Regal schedule. I was mildly excited about it because I love Naomi Watts. That's really the only thing, as I like her a lot. I think she's a really good actress. She's very pretty, of course, but she also has very brilliant, smart eyes, and that has a lot of impact on me. I just think she's everything. She's great. I love her. The movie itself, though, is okay in the first 2 acts, and the third act it falls apart. Story is basically a woman who is dealing with grief. I don't want to get into what the grief is. You'll find out in the movie, I suppose. I'm not sure if it's in the trailer or not because I haven't seen the trailer. I just went in cold. But she's dealing with grief, and she is a mountain rescue person, whatever they call them. And she's actually up in the mountains on her own as what looks like part of a tradition for her. as a way to deal with her own personal grief. And she comes across a man by himself, not dressed to be in a winter storm, and she fights to get him off the mountain. It's based on a true story. It works okay in the first few acts because she's good, but there's an ambiguity to it that would bother a lot of people, but would not have bothered me if it ended there. But in the third act, it goes above and beyond to hold your hand and explain every little bit of everything. And I just felt the movie fell apart. 5 out of 10. As I said, other than those, I also saw the, I don't know, maybe I've talked about this already in the previous video, I'm not sure, but I did see the Oscar-nominated short films, I saw the narrative films, I saw the animated films, I saw the documentaries, and, found good stuff in all of those blocks, some better than others. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you want to talk more about any of these movies, hit me up in the comments. I'd love to talk with you about them. Until next we meet, pull something cool off the shelf, share it with your friends and family, and remind them why physical media is the best way to watch films and TV. I'll see you guys on the next one.